Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting, educational, informational, motivational, all that ational episode of Mind, Your Body, and Soul, the healthiest podcast you have ever heard in your entire life. I am Joseph Ward, and as always, joined by Mr. Matthias Sweet. What's going on, Matthias?
Not as much as Monday, Joe, trying to get used to this time, and you know that time done got me. But it made me feel good. I got an extra hour.
Yeah, I thought I lost the hour, but when I found out I gained it, I was excited. So
Yeah, you know that little extra hour, you know, it helped, especially on Sunday. Now it helped on Sunday.
You know it too. So for all our listeners, our first-time listeners, welcome to Mind Your Body and Soul. For all our returning listeners and our viewers, thank you for supporting us. Remember, Mind Your Body and Soul is an educational podcast that focuses on all things health-related to help our listeners learn more about various topics and information they may or may not have access to. We seek to inform, empower, uplift, and mobilize our listeners to become the healthiest versions of themselves. Mind Your Body and Soul will be available every Wednesday at our website, www.nmcpodcast.com, as well as our parent website, www.neighborhoodmedicalcenter.org. You can always catch us on YouTube. We're always on YouTube. This is our home. Neighborhood Medical Center is the YouTube channel. Subscribe. Look me in my eyes. Subscribe. Like, comment, share this video. Remember, we're also available on podcast platforms such as Anchor, Breaker, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. So you can always be able to check out our podcast and learn. So now this young lady, that's a lot of great things about her. But one of the things I really enjoy, she's a Ricketts Raider Redskin. Something in there like I am, 3013 Jim Lee Road, Tallahassee, Florida. So, you know, that's set great foundation for being a great person and going out and making sure you take care of your community. But Miss Kyra D. Adams, she's the owner and operator of Maternal and Paternal Services, LLC. She's a certified lactation counselor, certified perinatal mental health professional, and certified childbirth educator. She has been working with families since 2007 and specifically with the maternal and child health field since 2012. Her experience includes case management, providing one-to-one breastfeeding education and support, teaching group childbirth and newborn care education classes, leading peer support groups, providing support to moms that were expecting postpartum depression, and grief support to moms that experienced a pregnancy or infant loss. She looks forward to working with you as you become a new parent, a new mother, on a new journey. If you need some help, especially in this Tallahassee area, you need to get with Miss Kyra D. Adams. So y'all put y'all hands together because she is here. Welcome.
She here.
Thank you.
No problem. We had to get you back on here. Well, we had to get you on here, but we had to get you back with us because the last time you did an excellent job at our Healthy Happy Hour. The young lady came out, and y'all, you and Anya Monroe, y'all came out and gave great information about breastfeeding, childbirth, child rearing, caring, everything. And so now you broke away from the WIC program and you have your own business, and Maternal and Paternal Services LLC is your business. Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's a big step.
Right.
It was. So thank you.
But you made it. You made it, and we here to support. So Matthias, go ahead, let's kick this thing off. You got the first question.
So Ms. Kyra, can you explain to us or tell us about yourself and why are maternal and paternal services needed in our communities?
All right. So first and foremost, about myself, I always have to give credit to my sons because they are the ones that made me a mother. So I am a mother of two. I have a 19-year-old son named Kyra and a 10-year-old son named Carson. So that's first and foremost. So after that, I would say, so I attended FSU. I got my bachelor's and my master's degree in social work. And During my bachelor's undergrad, I had to do an internship before graduating, and I did my internship with one of the local home visiting programs that worked with pregnant women and babies. So that was kind of like started my introduction into the field. And I did that, went to work for the abuse hotline. I did that for almost 5 years, but I didn't feel like my social work skills were being put to use. So I went back, and that's when I went back and got my master's during that time. And then after I got my master's, I started to work in case management with the local home visiting program. But with maternal and perinatal services, they are needed in the community because education is lacking. My experience working with families with pregnant women is like it's a lot that they don't know as it relates to their body, as it relates to their body parts. And then just that whole what to expect during labor, what to expect with breastfeeding and after birth. All of that good stuff, that information is just lacking. So for me, I'm a change agent. I don't like to sit in meetings and talk about what the problems are and not coming up with a solution. Like we can have meetings for days about what the problems are. We do that, around the clock, but what are we going to do about those issues that we are calling out? And if you're not going to do anything about them, why have a meeting? So with that, I was like, you know what? Let me not have to get, permission from somebody else. Let me not have to worry about a contract saying that I can't do this when I know what's needed in the community. So, that's how pretty much maternal and perinatal services came to part.
Right. So you telling us that there are a number of women in Tallahassee who are pregnant or may have babies, but don't know where to turn to get maternal and perinatal services right now.
Yeah, so there are, home visiting programs. There's Healthy Families, there is Healthy Start,
Right.
There's WIC at the health department. So yes, all of those programs are great, right? And then we have the women that are going to their OB appointments. So of course, it would be ideal that these clients would talk to their OB and their OB would answer all of their questions. But in the real world, does that often happen? Does a client really have a chance to ask all the questions that she needs to ask? Does a doctor really have time to really go over like, okay, you're in your second trimester, this is what you're going to be expecting, and, this is what you have to look forward to, and those type of things. And so I think, so for sure, like with childbirth education, I would say women don't know that they need it as much as they do, because so much information is given, but because most of the time it comes with a cost, then that's like out of sight, out of mind. And so.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I got you. So you kind of hinted on it that you want to be able to provide services for women or families that may not have had those services, but so because it's like what was the tipping point though for you? Because I know you see it, we all see it, we all grow up seeing it, but what was that tipping point that you was like, I can't take this no more? Not only you was like, I can't take this no more, let me get into these services, let me learn what I can, let me become a part of this. Like, what was that point?
That's a good question. I would say just over time working with women. I've had, countless of clients that would be going to see a maternal fetal medicine. And when I ask them why, they don't know. I've had clients that, had a C-section. When I asked them, okay, so why did you have a C-section? I don't know. They just said that I needed to have one. I actually know someone, when I was teaching childbirth classes at the health department, she had 2 C-sections and she was pregnant with her 3rd baby. And she was like, no, I want to have a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean section. The first time she got her C-section, she was young it wasn't necessarily needed, but she didn't know, so she went on with what the doctor said. And then, of course, after you get your first C-section, the doctors, recommend that you continue to get them. And so with her third baby, she was like, yeah, that's a no. Like, I want to try to have a vaginal. And she did. She attended my childbirth class, and her baby now is 9 years old, had a successful vaginal birth after cesarean. So I would just say over time, it's just been an accumulation of different things, different scenarios, different clients that I've worked with that has gotten me now. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Because there's always that point or that one thing that makes people say, you know what, I'm not taking this no more. I can't sit right and watch this anymore.
Right.
Okay. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. So can you just tell us more about the maternal and paternal services? What services do you provide for women? Like, what actual services do you provide?
So what do I do? That is the question. All right. So what I do is, so I provide breastfeeding education and support. So for moms that are pregnant and they are considering breastfeeding, let's say they're not even considering breastfeeding, I, provide that information and education. I also do childbirth education, which is like an actual series of childbirth classes. So I just actually finished up with one client, and she just delivered over the weekend.
Okay.
But we did a 4-series childbirth class, and then our 5th class was a newborn baby care, breastfeeding education, just what to expect, and then postpartum support. I can't even say postpartum. I would say perinatal. So there is perinatal mood and anxiety disorders as it relates to the hormonal changes, the mental changes, the environmental changes that happen during pregnancy, which can increase the risk of postpartum depression or perinatal depression. So I'm using at least 2 curriculums right now that are focused on preventing and or reducing the symptoms of perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. So with that, I meet with clients roughly once a week to provide, that emotional support, coming up with some coping strategies to help with, managing any triggers, any anger management, stress management techniques, all of that. And then self-care. Self-care is like my go-to thing. And that's the other part about it is when women are pregnant, it's, let me feel your baby. Let me feel your stomach. How's the baby doing? It's all about, let me feed you because you're pregnant.
Yeah.
But once that baby comes, that attention is taken totally away from mom and it goes to that baby. And so she doesn't really have that support. Well, she has support, but, it's more geared towards the baby. And so sometimes she gets lost in herself. She gets lost in the baby. She gets lost in these other roles. If she's a spouse, if she's already a mom. So I'm just that additional, support system. Say, girl, you got this. We're going to make it through and going from there.
Yeah. See, I got a million questions, but I'm trying to say I can get them because we'll be here all day with all the questions I have. So, okay, but dealing with this, because I see it a lot. The lady's pregnant and everybody wants to fill her stomach and all these things. And like you say, the attention goes to the baby after she's born. So how do you help the mothers cope with that? Because like I say, when the baby's in them, the attention is on them because the baby's in them. The baby's out, the attention is on the baby, and the mother is dealing with all these range of emotions, and the people she's thinking they're supposed to be with me, they're not, they teen baby. So how do you help the mothers not just go off the edge in those situations?
Right. So definitely, like I said, self-care for pregnant or not pregnant. Self-care is important. So number one, what I try to get them to do is focus on their self. If it means, just taking a shower, because of course, we think of shower as hygiene. It's kind of like a chore. So if you kind of reframe that shower process and you say that, okay, yes, I'm taking a shower. Yes, I want to get clean. However, this is going to be my time where I'm just away from everybody else. I'm going to light a candle. I'm going to turn on some music. I'm going to sing in the shower. Or, even if they sit down and take a bath, like that is just their time solely for them. So self-care. Number two, I would say recognizing whatever their triggers are. So if they're realizing that, okay, when my baby starts to cry excessively, I start to get a little bit anxious. Okay, so what are some things that you can do in advance? So a lot of times when babies cry, most likely they're hungry, they're, want to be changed, something of the sort, especially when it comes to when a baby cries, that's like the last resort of them saying that I'm hungry. So let's recognize what those cues are, those feeding cues are, so that you're not waiting until the cry and then you're getting irritated because your baby is crying. Right. Coping. So yeah, dealing with coping strategies with that. And then just sometimes retraining their thought processes. So a lot of the times, I have a lot of clients that may think negatively, in the sense of I'm not a good mom, I'm not doing something right. Just sometimes those negative intrusive thoughts. So what can we do? What are some positive affirmations that we can come up with? What are some different things that we can do to kind of help increase you having more positive thoughts than negative thoughts, which therefore changes our mood. If we wake up in a bad mood, if we're already thinking negatively about ourselves, if we don't really have that support, we're going to stay in that same cycle unless you do something to actively change it. So.
Okay. And my other question, I got a list of them, but my next question, because I kind of want to go back to the cesarean birth.
Mm-hmm.
What, and just in general, what is the danger of having a vaginal birth after a cesarean birth?
So the main concern with having a vaginal birth after a C-section, most people know it's a C-section, is where they do the incision. There's a chance that incision could rupture.
Gotcha.
So that's really that's one of the main issues or concerns.
And what would be some of the main reasons a C-section would be the best option versus a vaginal birth?
Okay, so that would be if mom and or baby is in dire need. So heart rate's dropping or increasing. For a C-section, and I want to say if the baby is not positioned right, it just depends on what type of position, then it will be recommended that, that a mom would get a C-section. If the placenta wasn't, if she had like placenta previa or a placental abruption, then that would be more of an emergent situation to where they would want to do C-section. So it just kind of varies. But then again, we have some doctors that, okay, you've been at 4 centimeters for 3 or 4 hours, you're not progressing, and okay, so let's go ahead and do a C-section. Versus that client knowing, okay, well, if you get up and you walk around, or if you change positions, then that could possibly further along your C-section. That could further along your labor, and it can help your labor go quicker if you're actually up moving around versus just laying in a hospital bed.
Okay. All right. So this, because it's I hear a lot of people now talking about when a woman giving birth, squatting versus laying down.
Mm-hmm.
Because just in my head, squatting, gravity, I get that, but what would you say squatting or laying down is the best way to give birth, and which one does either one matter, if it would contribute to making the birth more difficult or more easier?
Okay, so the thing about it is, number one, we have TV and we have social media. Uh, TV will have you believe that you're going into the hospital, your water's gonna break, you're gonna get excited, and you're laying in a hospital bed, and you have people counting to 10, telling you to push, and then the baby is out, and everything is glorious after that, right? That's what everybody is used to, and that's what they feel like labor is going to be. But it doesn't have to be that way. So the part that's being missed in between the TV world and social media world is that in between phase when that labor. So not just the pushing, but okay, getting you from 0 to 10 centimeters. So the best way, actually, and I, to be honest, I wish I could. No, I can't. No. I don't want another baby, but I would get pregnant. I would want to try labor again just so that I could try it differently. But anyway, to answer your question, right? So with squatting, using a squat bar or even standing up during labor, what that helps with is the pelvis. So the pelvis is actually, it has a few joints in it, so it can actually widen out a little bit. So if you're squatting and that gravity is coming down and you're squatting, you're opening your pelvis up more for that baby to come down a little bit further versus you just laying on your back and you just trying to push just based off of, just you laying off your back or somebody telling you to push. And especially if you've had if you've had an epidural, then you might not feel the need to or the urge to push that you would have had you had it natural. There's so many different factors, but all the way around, a squatting birth or a non-medicated birth with the use of gravity definitely helps with the labor.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. Now you know, and G.I. Joe say that knowing is half the battle.
Right.
No one's got the battle.
Right.
So cool.
Okay. So once the lady or the female is pregnant, what information should she and her partner be learning to be healthy and maintain a healthy pregnancy?
For sure, nutrition. Making sure that mom is eating right, eating healthy, taking prenatal vitamins. And I would even say starting any childbirth classes early. Like most people think, oh, I have to wait until the 3rd trimester. But sometimes the 3rd trimester is too late. To be honest, sometimes women don't make it to the 3rd trimester. They might deliver a little bit early. And so if you had the education a little bit sooner, then, you would possibly know what were the signs of preterm labor. What are, some stress management techniques that you can do, while you're pregnant and not just when you're in labor and you're in the 3rd trimester. So nutrition, just the education component itself. And then for the couple, I would even say them starting that communication about role changes and what to expect once the baby is born. Because, you were probably 2 single people and then now you're together as a couple and then now you're bringing a baby in. And so those needs, those desires are going to have to be put on hold. Some roles are going to have to be able to change in the midst of that, and allowing the couple to know what those changes are, how those changes are going to affect, sometimes relationships. What are some things so that it doesn't affect it in a negative way? What are some things that you can do proactively so that it's not an all-out war once the baby is born and somebody's like, oh, well, you're not listening to me, oh, you're not doing whatever. So it starts that communication component as well.
Okay, so I got a question. So from working in uninsured health care and community care, we get a lot of people who don't get that prenatal care period. What do you do for those type of women that just show up and like, okay, I'm already 8 months pregnant. Like now I want all the help I can get because now the realization is I'm pregnant. It's really set in. I'm here. Now I want all the help I can get. What options do those people have? Because a lot of them are single parents. So it's, I guess, the ideal thing we see on TV is, mother, father, happy home. But what do you do for those people who are it's just me on my own, and I'm finna have this baby. I'm still in denial that I'm pregnant. What happened?
I meet them where they are. That's
Okay.
what happens. So this is a no judgment, no bias, all of that zone. I am an innocent. I'm a bystander, but I'm here to help. So it's not coming with, girl, why did you wait? Or, because I understand what those barriers are. Being in services, cost was a barrier. Insurance was a barrier, transportation was a barrier. And so because I know that those are issues, then you know what? Okay, when can we meet? What time are you available? And going from there. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I don't have any medical backing behind me. However, I can give you as much education as possible so that you can at least go into the situation with some information. Or even referring them to neighborhood, referring them to bond somewhere that they can at least see if they can, on a sliding fee scale or whatever, so that they're not going completely without any form of prenatal care.
So I've encountered new mothers, new fathers.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about maybe like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, miraculously, within these 3 months, these new parents, they just have all the parental knowledge in the world. They know everything about parenting within 3 months. I see a lot of people like that. So how do you deal with clients who may come in, brand new parents, and they have these fixed ideas of this is what parenting is, this is how it should go, this and that, and they've made moves in the past that may not have been the best, but everything turned out good in the end, but the move wasn't the best. How do you re-educate parents like that to help make sure that moving forward they're not just doing what they feel, but they're doing actually what's in the best interest of the baby?
Right. So what automatically came to my head, like a perfect example for that would be like safe sleeping. So for safe sleeping, we recommend, the doctors, it's recommended that babies sleep alone on their back in their own crib, playpen, bassinet. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, I've had countless clients that say, well, I have how many other children and I slept them on their stomach and they was fine. But then all I can do is educate. If I'm going in saying, hey, this is the education that's provided, that's behind it. This is the research that is behind that. And then sometimes I'm even honest enough to give them examples of situations to where a baby has possibly died away, has passed away due to unsafe sleep. Because we have those meetings once a month. Once a month. It's called a fetal infant mortality review team. And we're looking at cases to where a woman has either, had a prenatal loss or an infant loss. And sometimes those infant losses are due to unsafe sleep. So I'm going in, hey, these are exact situations. Like, I understand that your prior kids, may have been they lived and they're happy and healthy right now, but you just never know. And so why take that chance? It's also kind of like the same with drinking or smoking during pregnancy. Like, you never know what, the outcome is going to be. So why even take that chance?
Right.
So I'm just coming from a standpoint of education and then just going from there.
Yeah, and I get you, because similar to here in the HIV world, I can't at the end of the day I can't make you do these things.
Mm-hmm.
But it is funny that people just automatically believe that, okay, well, I'm a parent now, so I know what it is to be a parent. It's like, I'm not a parent, but from what people tell me, it takes time to learn this.
Yeah.
It takes years, and I've even heard some people say you don't really learn till you become a grandparent. I don't know. It sounds better than just being knowledgeable within 3 months. Okay. So with that being said, what type of education and information do you have for a couple that's planning to become parents? How do you prepare them for that process?
So talking about number one, just simply planning your pregnancy. When is it that you're wanting to become pregnant? Are you all in, I don't want to say an ideal situation, but are you mentally stable enough? Are you financially stable enough? Are you healthy enough to get pregnant at whatever time? And then with that, and one of the things that we don't talk about a lot, but it also has to do with insurance, so that's probably why it's not talked about, is genetic counseling.
Right.
For both parents to go and get their genetic counseling done to see, okay, are there any contributing factors that are going to make my pregnancy or my child at higher risk? And that's, again, another example would be, sickle cell trait. It takes two people to have the trait to be able to, for the child to then have sickle cell. And a lot of people, either they don't know or they don't even talk about that with their partner. And then next thing you know, they're pregnant, they have their baby, and their baby has sickle cell.
Right.
So genetic counseling for sure is a start, just to see, what are, going to be any contributing factors to having a healthy pregnancy and then also a healthy birth outcome.
Okay. We just learned about genetic counseling
We
last
did.
week. And we actually interviewed the Sickle Cell Foundation. We just learned about genetic counseling. So that's perfect, you saying that. That's perfect.
Yes.
So I have a question. So like, what type of because you was like, when you're preparing, what are some of the things that you need to tell them to prepare for? Like, what are some of the things that can happen during a pregnancy? That type.
Goodness.
Like, what do I need to think of? Like, if I'm a new dad, like, is it just gonna happen? What is it? The mood swings, the different things, like. What should they expect? Like, what's going wrong if the baby's breech or something like that? So, like, what are those things that could go wrong?
Sure. So, of course, everybody talks about morning sickness. But there is a term. There is a condition to where sometimes it's not just the morning. Sometimes it's like all day, every day. And so talking to their provider. Anytime there is a medical issue, you need to go to your provider and not wait it out. So talking about that, talking about preterm labor, what to expect. If you are experiencing, any vaginal bleeding, any contractions, whenever you feel like your body, because everybody knows their own body, right? And so, they might wake up and be like, okay, something just not right, but they might wait it out. Oh, let me just wait till the night and see how that goes. But whenever you feel as if something isn't right, then call your doctor, go to the hospital. Once they start to feel their baby move, which is generally about 20 weeks, between 17 and 20 weeks, to just stay on top of your baby's movement. Not necessarily that you have to count every single move from the time that you start feeling the movement, but if days have gone by and you haven't felt that movement, let's say you generally feel the movement in the morning and now you don't feel that movement anymore, and it's been a couple of days. Well, wait, why has it been a couple of days first? But once you recognize it, then calling your doctor. So a decrease in fetal movement is a concern. And then for that dad that's just on the outside, hey, I don't know what it feels like to be pregnant. I see what it looks like, but I don't know what it feels like. If he's noticing like any swelling, if he's noticing any changes in mom's mood or behaviors. She's not wanting to get up. She's crying a little bit more. She seems to be a little bit more moody. Some of the providers, the OP providers, are doing depression screenings. So seeing if a depression, you can find them online anyway. Hey, girlfriend, wife, whoever, feel this out, answer these questions. Let's see if something is or is not right going on here. So that's a start. But speaking of dads can also experience postpartum depression as well. And his chances of experiencing postpartum depression is increased if mom has postpartum depression. So we educate dads. I try to get dads involved in services with the moms so that they're getting that information and education as well.
Okay. So as a guy, even though I may be frustrated, and one of the reasons why I may be frustrated because I have no idea what's really going on. Cause I know for me, one of the biggest things that will frustrate me is I can't just put my hands in there and alleviate that from you.
Right.
And so you can't. So basically, you're saying we can't, even though time has passed, we can't just chalk it up to, okay, she's a woman, she's going through this, yada yada. This is women stuff. This is more than women stuff. This is actual depression could be setting in because of things that may not have gone well with the pregnancy. Basically, what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had one of my clients. I was seeing her during her pregnancy for perinatal depression, and then she had her baby, and we had already finished services at that time. But her husband was knowledgeable enough, and she was saying, making some comments that he didn't necessarily like, and he was like, "Hey, you need to reach out to somebody. You need to call somebody." And she texted me, and we talked that same day, and she told, she was like a week after delivery. So it was just like, hey, let's talk about those things. What are those feelings? And it really boiled down to, I just need some sleep. Yes, my husband is here. Yes, my mother-in-law is here, but, they leave the baby with me when I feel like, I can be sleeping. They could be, just watching her. Because, being a new mom, you're waking up to every, any little flinch, you waking up because you just, concerned. So sometimes it was just, again, it goes back to communication, starting that communication piece. And that was actually my homework for her was, okay, well, when we get off this phone, you go talk to your husband, you come up with all of the expectations that you have of what you're needing of him and how he can help you. And then we'll talk next week and see how things went. And when we talk next week, everything was fine. Everything was better.
So can the you see on TV sometimes and you hear stories from people. So the men because one of my homeboys, his girlfriend got pregnant, and then he was the one that was sick all the time. Like he got the morning sickness, he got the strange cravings. So can that really happen for the father?
I've heard that. I've definitely heard that. I had another client of mine. She said that he was having that. He was having that same thing. He was nauseous and he was gaining weight, and the sleeping. All of that was happening to him. So.
Oh Lord, I'm scared to get eaten by the pregnant.
Funny.
Yeah.
So I want to go into postpartum depression, but I want to kind of take it back because earlier you mentioned nutrition when a woman is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
We in the Bible Belt in the South. We're in America. Nutrition that's not our highest priority as a culture in this area of the country. Like
food,
if it tastes good, we feel like if it tastes good, it's nutritious, right?
Right.
We know that's not the best for us because we can look at the disparities that we have. So what are some recommendations do you have for pregnant mothers yes, you can eat, but make sure that she's eating the right things that can actually help her and the baby and not just have her just bad and maybe diabetic and stuff.
So a myth that is common during pregnancy is that a woman is eating for two. Mm-hmm. And that is not the case. She should just be increasing her calorie intake and not eating double portions. So, we're recommending, 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. When we are talking about the nutrition component just itself, shopping along the outer parts of the grocery store versus on the aisles. So you can get that fresh fruits and fresh vegetables and the meats. Staying away from like deli meats or uncooked meats, those type of things. So literally going, into specifics about, the best portion size to eat compared to the best calorie size compared to the portion size. Looking at, and I can say that, I don't necessarily look at the box and see what the nutrition label says, but during pregnancy is definitely important because you want to make sure that you're just not going to McDonald's every other day and eating ice cream and French fries. And a lot of people get caught up on, the baby is craving, but there's different things that you can do to kind of, again, it goes back to reframing and retraining your mind. Because there's also the thing of, have you all heard of pica? PICA, PICA?
No.
All right. So that is sometimes women have during pregnancy, they have a craving for non-nutritious foods. So pica is the craving of non-nutritious foods. So have you all heard of women, pregnant women like wanting to eat dirt or clay during pregnancy? Okay, so that's pica.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So they eat chalk and other things
Chalk,
too.
yeah.
I guess that's supposed to help with something, or they get onto the ice, or they get
yes. So ice, yep, ice is one of them. And even though ice, yes, we put it in our drinks, but it's still a non-nutritious food. It doesn't bring any calories.
But how do you stop pica? Like if my girlfriend or my wife want to start eating dirt, what I'm supposed to do? Like,
so number one, you would want to tell the provider, tell their doctor. And then they might want to, they might get their, test their iron to see if there's an iron deficiency. And then there's other things you can do to kind of supplement. So if somebody was craving ice, okay, well, maybe drinking an icy. Or going to get like a smoothie, maybe that can kind of, retrain that. If it was dirt or, sorry, the trash people outside, I don't know if y'all can hear it. If it was like cornstarch or dirt or clay or something like that, just, and I forgot, it was, I had to go back and find it. But it was another way of having that same type of texture, but it wasn't just solely like flour or anything like that. Yeah.
So what do you do if it gets to the extreme? Because I've seen on TV, some people eat stuff like, when is it in time to be like, okay, we really need to get some mental help? Because, some people eat the mattress firm stuff, or some people eat things. They're eating that stuff, but they're supposed to. So when is it, maybe a little dirt, vegetables grow in the dirt. I ain't gonna, that. But like when they start eating other stuff, like, because I know that affects the baby. So I'm just trying to figure out where's the line to draw the line, but like, okay, I need some mental health in here for real.
I would say once you, and maybe not, I want to say like once you start, but once you recognize that now there has been an increase, or you're feeling like you're becoming dependent on it. So it's kind of like the same as a cigarette. Like we know cigarettes aren't healthy, but once we start, may start smoking once, but once a day, then it might go to twice a day, and then so on and so forth. Then once you see that progression starts to form, then that might be for sure a time to where, you're wanting to get some help. But as always, again, I'm not no medical provider. You want to tell your provider first so that they can do whatever type of evaluations, testings, or assessments that need to be done. Because of course, eating non-nutritious foods, that can lead to so many other health issues.
Right. So you heard it here first. Snitch on your partner if you need to.
That's right. Guys, you better go on there and speak up. Nah, bro, she eating dirt.
Right.
Tell us.
And I can't. So of course, doctors' offices, they have, we can't give out any medical information, unless they are on their documents. But it doesn't hurt to say, hey, I don't want any information. I just want to give information. I know that she has an appointment coming up. Can y'all address this with her? And maybe it can be done that way. But of course, there are HIPAA laws and stuff. But I don't see anything there generally isn't anything wrong with giving information. You just can't receive any information.
Right. We just can't tell them anything about it, but we can. As a healthcare provider, we can always take information because that's what we get the anonymous tips for. Because they're not going to tell you, especially saying like if somebody want to commit suicide. It's okay for me to say, hey, I think this person this is what they said to me. I don't want to know anything what happening, but we need to make sure we okay.
Right.
I think I'm gonna flip out, Joe, if my girl start eating chalk or something. I might be like, I don't know.
I'm gonna make some mud pies.
Way back.
So, postpartum depression.
Yes.
What is it? How is it caused? Is because we talked about a male can go through it at the same time if his partner has had a baby and all these things. But exactly what is postpartum depression? How does it affect mainly the mothers?
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's a convoluted question. All
Oh,
right. So,
look at the Joe. I always got them loaded questions.
right. So, I'll say this. With perinatal depression or postpartum depression, there are so many different risk factors.
Okay.
So, one being if that mom had a prior history of mental health, then she might be at risk of postpartum depression, especially if she wasn't getting it treated. Um, if mom or the pregnant mom didn't have a good relationship with her mom, then that's also could be a risk factor. If there are any environmental factors, stressors that is going on. So let's say she's living in the food desert, she's low income, she doesn't have access to resources, all of that together, just that social, from that social aspect of it, can increase the chances of perinatal depression. If she has limited support, so no family, no friends, especially with, being in Tallahassee, a lot of, college students are coming in from other cities and other states, and now they're pregnant and they're dealing with it on their own because their mom or their major support system, grandmother, aunt, sisters, cousins, they might live in their home state. So that can become depressing, especially if you're pregnant and you're having to deal with it, by yourself, and especially if the partner isn't involved. Or if there is domestic violence, intimate partner violence. And we have been talking about dads, but if we're looking at what the climate is, it's not just male and female relationships. There is female to female relationships. And so, just being able to educate as well, as that as well. Drug use, prior history of drug use before or during pregnancy can increase chances of perinatal depression. But those are all of the risk factors. But overall, when we're looking at, or when we're talking about postpartum depression, a lot of people hear about baby blues. So after after their baby is born, they cry, crying for no reason. They might be watching a commercial about a baby and they just start crying. They might be a little bit moody, might not want to, get up and take care of themselves. Those are some of the just common signs of baby blues. It turns into postpartum depression when it's beyond that 2 weeks. So that baby is now 2 weeks old and they are still having those same symptoms. They have increased. She don't want to look at the baby. She don't want to get up. She don't even want to look at herself. She's not wanting to brush her teeth. Just those type of things. All of that combined could then mean that there's possible signs of postpartum depression. So it's a mood imbalance, it's a hormonal imbalance, it's a stress imbalance, it's a drug it can be encompassed in so much.
So that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. But now the
It's
question is, so like, how treatable is this? Like a treatable thing? Is it like something that can be treated? And then what do you do if like it's a single mother and she doesn't have nobody and there's nobody there? She done blocked everybody out. Like you said, we're a college town. A lot of these people, you know what I'm saying, these other kids don't know. That's just her. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, that's just Joe. I don't know. That's just how Joe act. But really, it's a sign of depression, but we don't know. And then the baby's at jeopardy. So, like, what kind of services can we refer, or where can we refer them to? Would they go like to the behavior center, or would they go like what
so
kind
it depends. How severe those symptoms are, right? So
Right.
we hear just the comment, "Oh, she's just crying, she's sad," and then you have that extreme of she done, drove off a cliff with her baby, that type of thing. So there's a spectrum. Where does the client fall in that spectrum between I'm just crying versus, oh, I want to die and I want everybody to die with me, right? But to answer one of your prior questions, is it treatable? Yes. So there is counseling, there's therapy, medication if needed, mindfulness, or doing the mindfulness practices, self-care, those type of things, all cognitive, also what they call cognitive behavioral therapy. Those things help with perinatal depression. So yes, all of those things can be done locally. Now, is If it's just, I'm feeling a little bit sad, I'm just not feeling myself, is that necessarily anything that she need to go to, to a behavioral health center for? Maybe not. If she's not presenting herself to be a risk to herself or anybody else, then no, they might, okay, this might just be more of an outpatient type of thing. You just might need some follow-ups, some social support, for that. But then there is that extreme to where she's, having homicidal thoughts, suicidal thoughts, behaviors, and even or intent attempts. Then at that point, then yes, it could be, to the point of, yeah, we might need to get you admitted somewhere. And so with that, they'll be doing the same thing, monitoring her symptoms, if the medication management is needed, and then, that counseling, either peer support or individual counseling, helps.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the mental health term enmeshment?
Enmeshment, yes, but I can't. Yeah.
Because I know, and this is not a technical definition, but it's like when mostly mothers and daughters have unhealthy, dependent relationships upon each other. So I'm wondering if postpartum depression or some of the negative effects of pregnancy, especially with mother to daughter, could lead to enmeshment happening, because it's a lot more prevalent than what people may know. And if you have an issue that I have to be around this person, that separation anxiety and all these different things, that's more so the enmeshment area. But I'm wondering if there's anything during the pregnancy that could possibly lead to that.
That's a good question. Now that one, I don't know, but it makes sense though. So, we have, so we talk about, secure attachments and stuff with parenting and bonding. But then you have that parent that is like, they don't want their child too far from them. They don't even want them in a different room. Like they have to. So I can see how. So then that becomes that unhealthy attachment to where that is solely that codependent. Like that's a totally different world. So I can see that. I don't have any research or any experience with that. I think my experience has just been with the opposite of moms not having good relationships with daughters, and then that daughter is pregnant, and now it's like, oh, like I wish I had my mom. I wish, things were better. How can I be a better mom because I didn't get that good mom experience? So I've had more experience with that versus the other side.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the biggest myths surrounding pregnancy and childbirth that you would like to demystify today?
That you have to deliver on your back. That is one for sure. And the other one is that a lot of people feel like they're alone during pregnancy. And I've even had that as well. Women that have been married and they still feel alone because their partner, doesn't understand them or doesn't see what they're going through. Or let's say she's a stay-at-home mom and he works all day. So when he comes home, he's tired and she didn't get to talk about her day because she was just home with the kids all day. And so she doesn't get that outside, adult interaction. But, there are services available. There is support available so that, they'll know that they are not alone in that whole birthing process. Pregnancy, birth, even after birth. Any other myths I would like to miss? Oh, I would say, having to wait until the third trimester to start any prenatal education. You can start as early as you want. I have one client now. She's like 15 weeks and we're doing childbirth education like already. And so I encourage that more than anything. Because, it doesn't hurt to, even if, let's say in the third trimester, she wants to come back and, hey, I just need to touch up. Hey, we can do that. But versus just not getting the information or the education at all.
So I got two questions. So like one,
Okay.
with the education, is it possible to do like go ahead and start young girls early on the education process? Because right now, because I know back in the day we had a lot of teen pregnancies that were hidden. You know, I think all of us are in the same generation, so we a little older. So I mean, we had a lot of my friends hid their pregnancies for a long time. So is there like a way that they get the education without even being, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of teen pregnancy happening. I mean, you see
Right.
it now with I think MTV has a special, My Teen Mom or something like
Yeah.
that. So it's out there, but what do we do? Is there ways to educate those girls before they get pregnant to say, hey, these are the importance of, I mean, that's probably an ideal, realistic
I
work.
was just about to say that would be the ideal. So really the ideal situation is we were in the school systems.
Yes.
If
Right.
we were in the school systems to say, hey, not don't have sex, don't get pregnant, but coming from the standpoint, if you have sex or if you get pregnant, this is what you will be facing with. This is what you'll be dealing with. This is what you would need to do. Because it can seem shameful, depending on, her background, that family's background, what their religious beliefs are. So many aspects, and that is probably why they don't allow it in schools, is because everybody has a different belief. But the ideal would be that, it would start off in the schools, or there was a specific program that women, and matter of fact, let me even take this back, not even just the school, the churches. Let's be honest.
That's where it's gonna go.
We have
That's like
pastors,
that
they
Joe and I
are doing baptisms, they're doing the Christians for these babies. And so how can we draw in that faith-based component to where, again, we're not saying, yes, go out and have sex. We're not saying, yes, go get pregnant, but, being able, because it all starts with education. At the end of the day, it starts off, okay, if I am educated, then I have the decision to know what the benefits are of doing this or what the risks are of doing this versus, I'm just going to get out here and do it and I don't know nothing. And that's the other part that I like to throw in with my childbirth classes. Because again, women don't really fit, or they feel as if because their doctor is a doctor, their doctor knows best, versus them not understanding what their other options are. So, I use the acronym, I don't know who came up with it, but it's the BRAIN acronym. So what are the benefits? What are the risks? What are the alternatives? What does your intuition tell you? And what are the next steps? Or can this be negotiated in some form or fashion? So if that is done in childbirth, if we can just do that even before, then that would be great. Being able to talk about the benefits and the risks of either sex and having a baby.
See, that's the same thing that Joe and I preach, because if we could get to the kids younger, because everybody automatically preaches abstinence. And I understand abstinence is the way we want it to go. But we live in a time of the new now, the new normal, and that's what's happening. We seeing STD rates rise with the children,
Yes.
pregnancy rise. So why can't we just, that is our fight that me and Joe have been fighting for the longest, is how can we educate and make sure that we tell you what you need to know in case this happens. It's just that, you know how your parents always tell you gotta save up for that rainy day or that just in case thing happens? This is what that just in case method is. Let me tell you about it, because I think once a lot of people see what happens and what could happen and what they have to go through, I think it's a better understanding of, I'm not going through that right now.
Right.
Because a lot of people think it's fun.
Right. And I was just about to say, we see social media, we see the gender reveal parties, we see the baby showers, we see the dressing up and the getting cute, but what goes on outside of Facebook or your phone screen or whatever, what really goes on, with that. And I remember that whole Great to Wait campaign. Matter of fact, I was a chaperone to one that they had did years ago at the health department, at the Civic Center. I can't remember who I chaperoned with, but even then, it sounds great to wait. Yes, that would be ideal. But, you have those circumstances where, some people don't. And, when they don't, what do you do next?
Right.
I see, Stop lying, people. Be real. Real. Look. My grandma had her first child at the age of 11. All right.
Mhm.
Young people have sex. Middle-aged people have sex. Older people.
Old people have, and they STD rates high too. But okay.
We ain't gonna go there because we know
sex, but
them right there.
I just want us to get past the lies, right? These children need education. These adults need education. Mm-hmm. We can't just be like, well, I don't want you to doing this. Like, you was having sex when you was young.
Right.
Let's be honest. If we continue to act like what's real ain't real, things are going to get worse. We're already complaining about this generation this and this generation that. We'll teach them something else.
But Joe, it goes back to that generational curses that we can't break. Like, my mom had a baby at 15, you had a baby at 15, now your child gonna have a baby at 15. It's like, when are we gonna break this? When are we gonna see that
they're not being honest about it?
And you get a lot of those young girls that, you know what I'm saying, when you look back at some of my friends and stuff like that, it's like, dang, you were taking care of your brother and your sister and everything, so you think it's okay. You didn't have to go through any of the pregnancy stuff, but you just know, I want a baby because I get to take care of it. It's like a dog. I take care of it. I feed it. It's okay.
It's going to love me for life. And, if nobody else going to love me, my baby going to love me. Listen, I just had my goddaughter over the weekend, Saturday I dropped her off this morning. When I tell you I was about to lose my mind last night because she was waking up, like, oh my gosh, you 6 months now. You not 6 weeks. When I had you the first time, you was waking up every 2 hours. And I'm like, how was I doing this by myself? With my
career.
It was ridiculous. So, child, y'all can get me on talking about a whole other thing besides maternity.
But my other question before I get it in is, before we wrap it up, is like, with COVID, so that's our new now. And a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, they weren't letting people in the birthing rooms. They weren't letting people in those different visits with them. So how do you feel COVID has affected the way we give birth in education now? Because, I mean, the kind of mom do kind of feel like she alone because they can't really go. Nobody can do nothing.
So that was my answer, is they end up feeling alone, which then, therefore, I think has increased that perinatal depression component. Because, again, we have this idea, my partner gets to come with me to my appointments. We get to hear the heart rate. We get to see the ultrasound together and all of that. And especially, during this time, and especially if they have somebody that wants to be there, and then for them to say like, oh, you can't bring somebody. Yes, it definitely it opens that door for them to, yes, potentially feel alone. And I think they now offer, you can bring in one person and a health person. So like if they had a doula, then that person can come in.
What's a doula?
Oh, so a doula is someone that helps during labor. So it helps mom with comfort measures, coping strategies during the labor part. Also provide support to the partner as to how they can help mom during labor. But just more of that, the doula is solely focused on mom. Anybody else, y'all out of limit, y'all don't matter to me. But it's more of that voice for that mom. So let's say that mom, doesn't want to get, an epidural, or she doesn't want to be hooked up to the monitors the entire time of her pregnancy, because you don't have to be. Everybody, I want to hit a heartbeat, I want to see the little monitor. You don't have to be hooked up to that all day, the whole time that you're, in the hospital. But that's where that doula can kind of come in to say, hey, there aren't any medical issues. She wants to walk around. Can we walk? So she's more of that voice for mom, because of course, she's going to be kind of in and out with contractions. But she just definitely a needed and additional support system.
Okay, that brings another question. Sorry, I got a lot of questions. So you had spoke earlier about, saying in today's societies, it's not the normal pregnancies always and everything like that. So if you do have, because now you're seeing on TV, a lot of people are doing the surrogates and things like that. So how important is this education for, say you have two men who are finna get a baby, and they have the surrogate. So how important is this education that we're able to help along with that process?
I think still going through the childbirth part so that they can even understand like what it took for it takes so much. If you think about a sperm meeting an egg and then all of a sudden we have us now as humans, like that is a miraculous thing. So if there were two partners, either it be men or women or even transgender, because we know, that's going on as well, just being able to just get the education to know what is expected or what happens. And then even afterwards, because even though they may not have birthed themselves, they can still experience postpartum depression. So that educational component is still worthy. And then that newborn care. So like, okay, yeah, y'all had somebody to do the hard part. The real hard part is raising this baby. What does that look like? What does a fever look like? What do you need to do when it comes to bathing and all of that once you take that baby home, because it's all yours at that point. You can't give it back to the surrogate. It's all yours. So getting that educational component about newborn care and what to expect with that newborn baby is highly important.
Gotcha. See, I told y'all she was gonna come drop this information and this knowledge on y'all, and this interview for me is so important because we have so many people who want to be parents and so many people who may not be in the best situations to be parents as well. Maternal and perinatal services. I got my flyer, right?
Yes, that is it. Yes.
Make sure you check out. So how can people get in contact with you? What's your website? What's your social media? How can people follow you?
Sure. So my website is MAPS, M-A-P as in Paul, S as in Sam, Tally.com. So mapstally.com. I am on Facebook with Maternal and Perinatal Services. I am on Instagram with _MAPS_LLC. I'm on TikTok, same thing, _MAPS_LLC. My telephone number is 850-284-3656. And my email is maternalperinatalservices@gmail.com. So, call, text, whatever. Send me a hootie hoo and I'm gonna answer. Because it's all about just getting the services out there. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but all of my services are at no cost. I am trying to partner and hopefully get in connection with agencies so that the agencies can fund the services so I can get paid in some form or fashion. But at the end of the day, I know that this is a needed service for African American women and then low income African American women. And so because I know what those barriers are being in services, I don't want to then come out and be like, oh yeah, I'm charging $150 for my classes and you got to come all the way to Cologne for my classes. I don't want to do that. Like I said, I'm removing barriers. And so that means no cost. Now, if you want to donate, feel free to donate. But yeah, all of my services are at no cost. So you can call me, text me or whatever, and I'm there.
Okay. An organization created to support moms and families with education and resources to increase positive and healthy birth outcomes. Y'all better get your mind right. Maternal and Perinatal Services, LLC. Check her out, Miss Kyra Adams. She's amazing at what she does. She's very knowledgeable, and she will go above and beyond to make sure you and your family are taken care of. And you heard it here first on Mind Your Body and Soul, which is the healthiest podcast you have ever heard in your